If you find yourself repeatedly using the same components in assemblies, you know how tedious it can be to add the same mates each and every time you use a particular part. With a small amount of upfront work, mate references can drastically reduce or even eliminate the amount of time it takes to mate commonly used components. Mate references are a method of predefining a specific mate or set of mates for a component. These mates are then automatically added when you drag the component into an assembly. Let's take a look at this simple example. In order to mate the screw into this block, I have to add two mates. One coincident mate to make the head touch the surface of the block, and one concentric mate to make it position the screw in the hole. Now that wasn't too painful, but if you had to repeat that process for each hole, you can see the process would be time-consuming. This process can be simplified by adding a mate reference to the screw. Now, there are a couple of ways to do this. One way is to open the screw component and use the Reference Geometry drop-down menu. Select Mate Reference to open the Mate Reference Property Manager. The first field allows you to specify a name for this mate reference. I'll leave this as default for this example. Next, I'll select the primary mate entity. This is the entity that SOLIDWORKS will use to create a mate when this screw is dropped into an assembly. I'll select this edge. If you've used SmartMates, you know this edge has a special characteristic. It's adjacent to both a flat face and a cylindrical face. This means that when SOLIDWORKS creates a SmartMate, it'll add both a coincident mate and a concentric mate. We'll see in a moment that this behavior also extends to mate references. Now, if you wanted to add secondary and tertiary mate references, just in case your primary reference failed, you can do so by specifying them in the Property Manager. Back in the assembly, I'll open the File Explorer in the Task pane. You can see the cap screw listed in the Open in SOLIDWORKS section. I'll drag the screw into the assembly and watch as it snaps into place. Notice two mates were automatically generated, coincident and concentric. As I repeat this process for each hole, remember I'm saving the trouble of having to create two mates for each screw I'm adding. In this example, I dragged the screw in from the task pane. However, you can also drag components in from Windows Explorer or from the design library and still take advantage of mate references.